Hi everyone, I get asked a lot about how to edit the levels in our platformer game. So I thought it would make sense to make a video about this very topic. I will do this by downloading the project from GitHub and we work from there, just to make sure it works as intended. Just a quick reminder, all of the code I cover in my videos can be found on GitHub. Each episode will have its own branch. There's also a Discord server for this channel. Come in and say hello. If you wish to go the extra mile to support my work, you can do that on my Buy Me a Coffee page or becoming a member here on YouTube. Links can be found in the description below. I also want to thank a new member of the channel, which is Hassan Safer Biliri. Probably butchered that name, but thank you and welcome to the club. Now, let's edit some levels for our game. Alright, let's begin. To edit any level, first off, we're going to need the project. So let's go ahead and download it. I'm gonna pick the episode 28, the very last. And just gonna download the zip. I'm gonna put it in my Eclipse workspace. You can put it wherever you want, as long as you know how to find it. Then we're going to extract it. Alright, it's done. Can remove the zip, can go in here, and there it is. So now into our Eclipse, import projects, general projects from folder archive, yes, directory, there we go, finish, and here we should have it. And just make sure that the rest folder is set as a, where do we have it there, source folder. Alright, so let's just run it and see if it works. Yes, it looks like it's working. Options. Alright, so it works. How do we change this level? This is the first level and we're gonna focus on this one. So how do we change the tiles? How do we change up how it looks, change the enemies, and so on? Well, it all starts in the project folder. And in here we have the resource folder, which is the same as here. But to access the files, it's easier to go the normal route. So in here we have the audio and the levels folder. And we're gonna work with the levels folder. And if I bring up the first level, which is 1.png, we here have our level. And just by a quick glance, you can see, move that away, you can see that you have this open space here, you have the open space here, you have this little hole or whatever you want to call it, this longer hole, you have this hole here, and you have the, you're just gonna kill the Krabby. And you have the longer hole here. So this image is this level. So to change it or edit it, we need a editing software. And there are plenty of ones out there. I'm using something called GIMP or GNU Image Manipulation Program. GIMP in short. And it's my go-to. It's free. It's open source and it does what I need it to do. It's like a lighter version of Photoshop. And of course you can use Photoshop, you can use Paint, any type of editing software that you are comfortable with will work. If you wanted to change something here now, for example this, we're gonna take this corner right here where I'm jumping on. If I want to change that to just another tile, how would I know how to do that? Well, let's bring up our level here. And the tile I was referring to in the game is this one right here. And I'm just going to bring up my color or foreground color or color. I can take this one, color picker tool, and I can get the pixel value for whatever pixel I'm clicking on. Each pixel is a tile and every pixel has 3 components in the image. It has the red component, the green component, and the blue component. Make sure that you have the right value is 0 to 255. And if we take a look at what value this very pixel have, we got a red value of 0. We're gonna get to green and blue in a second, but that's for enemies and objects, and we're gonna talk about them in a second. The red value of this one is 0. The red value of the one above is 11. To the right is 1, and so on. We can see there's a lot of different red values here. And we have this as our tile atlas. There's a total of 48 different tiles, including the transparent one, which is ID 11. And the ID was 0, so that means the top one here. And this is easier to see on this image right here. Here is a tile atlas, and I just made it a little bit easier to see what ID and value each tile will have. So the first one is 0, and you can see that's the corner, and that corresponds with that one. We had the one underneath is 12, so let's take a look. So this one underneath should probably be 12, and it is. So that's how we decide what tile it should be. We're only focusing on the red value here, not the other ones. And the way we load our tiles is in this method right here. So we have J4 because we have 4 rows, and 12 because we have 12 in each. So that's why the first one is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 11. Oh, can increase it to 11. And then it jumps down to the next one, 12, And they are all stored inside this level sprite array, which we declare, and we set it here to a size of 48. So we have 48 different tiles. To get the specific tile we want, we simply put in the ID as index, because the index and ID here is the same. I'm just using ID as a better name for declaring that this one is index 0, 1, 2, 3, So if we wanted the tile 47 or ID 47, we simply have to set 47 on this tile. So let's go ahead and do that. All we have to do is to put 47 as a red value and then paint that pixel. And we pick the pencil tool. If you don't see the pencil, right click and you have more options. But pencil tool, size 1, otherwise we're much bigger, so size 1, and opacity 100%, so there's no transparency. Then we change it to the desired ID or index, 47, and we paint it. And the color changed just slightly, and if we take our picker tool and we click that one, it's now 47. Save it, overwrite 1.png. Go to our game, we can close this one down. Right click rest folder, refresh, run it, play, and we have now changed that tile. And the position of this tile is the same as the position in the very image. So the top left will of course correspond with the top left. I don't think we can see it, but it's up there. So that's how we change a tile in our game. It's not that difficult. But there's also 2 more IDs in our tiles that is not part of this one right here, the tile atlas. And that is the water. There are 2 different waters. You have the water that doesn't animate, and you have the water that does animate. So if you wanted to change this one to water that animates or doesn't animate, we check for, here's our draw for an entire level. So whatever level you're on, here's the draw method for the level. So if the red value of the pixel is 48, then we draw this one, and this is the animating one, the one that animates, and we have a method to handle all the animation. But 48 is water that animates, 49 is water that does not animate, and if that is not true, then we draw it here. Let's change this one to water. So I'm gonna increase by 1, can put 1 there, increase another one and put something there. Okay, no. Overwrite, close the last game, remember to refresh, and let's run it again. And as you can see, we have water that doesn't animate and water that does animate. And I think if I jump on the water that animates, I'm gonna die. Because we have set water to kill you. But what about enemies? How do you add more enemies into the game? The same principle is here. The image is the level, and the IDs of the pixel decides what's going to be spawned there. So we have a switch in our level class. We're going to start here, where we load our entities. Depending on the green value, we're either going to spawn a Krabby, Pink Star, or a Shark. Or if the ID, green value, is 100, that is where our player is gonna spawn on that level. All of them is in the enemy constant. So Krabby is 0, Pink Star is 1, and Shark is 2. So let's take a look at this blue dot over here at the beginning of the level. So I'm just gonna check it. We have 11 for the red value, which is transparent, so the tile is gonna be transparent. And then we have 0 for green. And 0 for green was Krabby. So that's why we have a Krabby that spawned there. But let's add 2 more enemies. Let's add a Shark and a Pink Star. So we go back to our level here. And I think he's there. We can just pick any color. So I like to pick the current color on that position and then change the value that I need to. So let's add a 1 and draw it there. Let's take a 2 and we can draw him there. Save it. I didn't change the red value, I didn't change the blue value, I only changed the green value for those tiles. So let's go here, close down the current game. Remember to refresh every time you edit one of the asset files. And then we click and run. So now we have a Krabby, a Pink Star, and a Shark. Alright, but what about objects? We have trees, we have... what else do we have? We have a barrel. Do we have a cannon on this level? No, we do not. But we have spikes, etc. So how do we add those? Well, we have one more component of the pixel, which is the blue value. And we can take the color picker tool and just check what's down here. 11 for red, that is transparent. We have 234 for green, which is gonna get ignored. Anything that is 3 or more when it comes to green is gonna get ignored, except 100, which is the player spawn point. And we can see the player spawn point right there. So 11 transparent, 100 player spawn. Blue is 154, which is also ignored because we don't have that many objects. So let's take a look here in this little ditch here. We have 11 transparent. That one is ignored. Then we have 4. So if we look at our code, ID 4 is spike. Yeah, that looks to match. Alright, so let's put spikes up here. What do we do? Well, if we know what we want, what type of tile, we can just copy that color and then draw it wherever we want. So now we're gonna have a big area with spikes. It's gonna be kind of pointless and impossible to complete the level, but just to prove a point. And here are all the spikes that I will not be able to pass, because if I try to go past them, I die, because they kill you instantly. So that's how you can change the objects as well. And by looking in our code, we can see what we have. If I want the boxes, just boxes there, I need to get the value 3. So let's just start with the same tile, always good, and change the value to 3, right? Yes. And now we paint 3 here, or paint that over. And just to make sure, take the color picker tool, save it, refresh, and let's run it. And now we have a bunch of boxes here. And I died. So yeah, that's how you change the tiles, the enemies, and the objects. What if you wanted to create a completely new level? Maybe you want it to be bigger, or maybe you just wanted to add more levels. Can you do that? Yes, of course you can. There's a few things to keep in mind, of course. See them as rules, so the game won't crash. The first rule is the size of the level. It can be 26 in width or larger, but not smaller than 26 in width. And in height, it needs to stay at 14. No more, no less, 14 exact. And that is just to make sure that the game doesn't crash. If you want bigger levels, go ahead, but you need to change the code as well. This is just to show how you edit and create new levels with the current code. So 14 pixels in height and 26 pixels in width is the smallest possible level. And as I mentioned, you can increase the width as much as you want. So let's go in and create a new level. New. And I'm actually gonna say 26 in width and 14 in height. So I'm gonna create the smallest possible level. Alright, so now we have a new level. It's completely white, and what we're gonna start with is to change the red value to 11 and set that as base level. That means every tile here is gonna get transparent. If that was not the case, we have a method here that loads the level, and if red value is more or equal to 50, we set it to 0, and that's not ideal because 0 is not a transparent image. 0 is the corner, so then we would have corners all over the level, which is not what we want. So we want to set the base tile for entire game, which is 11, so everything becomes transparent. Let's add a line here, a floor, if you will. And the best way to do that is to go to our previous level, take the color picker tool, and just find a place, a tile or something that we want. So this one, for example. And that is ID1, and ID1 is the floor thingy here. So let's select pencil and just drag it as we want. And let's add a ditch right there, something like that. So now we have some sort of floor. It's not going to be pretty, but we have a floor, and you can work on it as much as you want to make it look very nice, because you have to find IDs that match when they are close to each other, etc. I just want to show how to do it, and then you can take it wherever you want to go with it. And the next rule for making a level is that there always has to be an enemy. One enemy minimum. Because the level manager is going to see that, oh, there's no enemies left. They're all dead. Next level, please. So it's going to automatically think that the level has been completed if there is no enemies. So at least one enemy. And we can check in our constant class that our enemies are 0, 1, and 2 when it comes to the green value for any pixel. So let's just take the base color, change it to a 0 for Krabby, or let's go with a starfish, so 1. And we're gonna put him down here and 1 here. So now we have 2 enemies in the game, and the third rule is that it needs to have a player spawn, and the green value for player spawn is 100. And we can see that in our level class here. If the green value is 100, we create a player spawn. So each level needs to have a player spawn and only one player spawn. Otherwise you may end up somewhere you don't want to end up. So we're going to put him there. And if you want to add some objects, for example, we can take the base color, and remember 7 is the color for the tree, so the straight tree. So let's add a couple of trees here. Let's add a tree over here if we want to. And we can also add a tree where the player or enemy spawn. For example, we're going to take this one. We're going to add a tree where the enemy spawn, because the enemy is taking up the green value and the tree is going to take up the blue value. All we have to do is set 7 there and then just paint that spot. And we can make sure that it actually got the correct values. 11 transparent, 1 starfish, 7 a tree. And now our level is it started. It's not pretty, but it's a start. So we just want to see how it looks in the game. So we're gonna export as. We're gonna name this new level for now. And we're gonna put it in the res folder of the project. So we have the one I downloaded, the platformer tutorial, res folder, level, and we're gonna place it in here. We're gonna change the name, which brings us to the 4th rule. And that rule is that the levels need to have a specific name in order that you want them to come when the player starts at level 1, then goes to 2, 3, 4, and so on. We can see that in here. We have the res folder, the levels, and here is our new level. The levels needs to have an integer and needs to be in ascending order. So this is going to be the first level, second, third, fourth, and so on. But I'm going to change the name to for this one, old level, I'm going to name it. And the new one that we just had, I'm going to put as 1, because I don't want to complete 5 levels just to play this one. And now our new level is named 1. Let's go to our Eclipse here, right click, refresh, and let's see. And if you run it now, then you're going to run into an error, because the code is looking in this folder and it finds this one and it doesn't match the number, so it's gonna crash like it did here. So what we want to do is just cut it away. We can place it in here for now. So we have the old level in here, and the levels folder is now clean. We do a last refresh, try to run it now. It started up, and it looks terrible, but it's working. We have our 2 enemies, we have our tree, and we had our player spawn. And the boat is actually hard-coded. And if we take a look at our draw method here in our playing, we see that if draw ship, then draw the ship and update it and so on. So what we want to do is just flip this boolean to false. The ship was mainly there for aesthetic purposes, indicating that the player came to this world by boat. So if we try it now with the ship, draw ship false, the ship is now gone. So yeah, that's how you create a level in this game. As long as you follow the 4 rules: the size of the level, the enemy, the player spawn, and also that you make sure that the name for the very image file, once it goes in the levels folder, is correct. Alright, that's how you edit and create your own levels to the platformer. I'm sure that now you can create some great levels for this game. This was by far my most requested topic, and if you enjoyed it or learned something new today, hit them buttons down there. Until the next video, my friend, take care and have a wonderful day. Cheers!